I've come to the conclusion that these people are of the serpent seed. You have the father, the devil, could be nowhere else. US politician has just threatened Jamaica, saying that the island must face consequences simply for speaking the truth about Cuba. A lot of noise. These people were just at the CARICOM meeting. But you see, sometimes when you lie down with pups, you wake up with fleas. And this is the problem. You know, in 2001, when the former Prime Minister St. Vincent came to office, he found a bill from the US Embassy in Barbados for money. I mean, real money for coming to do what? For the US forces who were coming to St. Vincent to cut marijuana and spray them down, burn them, whatever you want to call it. And he decided he wasn't going to pay any. But could you imagine that? What have the Americans really done for us? It's some kind of partnership, an abusive relationship with a woman and a man, beating the hell out of the woman for years. That is what this is all about. This week, Congressman Carlos Gimenez, whatever his name is, took to social media to lash out at Jamaica's leadership, warning that the country will face consequences for backing honest dialogue on Cuba. That's right, consequences for just speaking up. These are the same people who tell you that Cuba is not free, that Venezuela is not free, and the people need freedom of speech. And here we are in the Caribbean, and the leader decides to speak up because of freedom of speech, and they want to punish him for that. These people are full of hypocrisy, and that is why I said they are of the serpent seed. It could be nothing else. Prime Minister Andrew Holness spoke at the CARICOM summit, calling on leaders to be what? Plain spoken about the deepening humanitarian crisis in Cuba, urging responsible leadership and constructive engagement between nations. What is wrong with that?
We must address the situation in Cuba with clarity and courage. Cuba is our Caribbean neighbor. Its doctors and teachers have served across our region. Its people are part of our shared history. But today, the Cuban people face severe economic hardship, energy shortages, and growing humanitarian strain. Jamaica is sensitive to the struggles of the Cuban people. Humanitarian suffering serves no one. Apart from our fraternal care and solidarity with the Cuban people, it must be clear that a prolonged crisis in Cuba will not remain confined to Cuba. It will affect migration, security, and economic stability across the Caribbean basin.
Holness wasn't supporting any dictatorship, as the Americans call Cuba. He affirmed Jamaica's belief in democracy, human rights, accountability, while raising legitimate concerns about what continued aggression means for the entire region. What is wrong with that? Instead of engaging in dialogue, this US lawmaker launched a threat. What did he say? He said Jamaica will face consequences. All of that sounds to me like intimidation cloaked in rhetoric, isn't it? So, a Caribbean nation expresses solidarity with its neighbor, and I mean very close neighbor, and warns that continued pressure on Cuba could destabilize the whole region, and it will destabilize the whole region. And suddenly, Washington talks about consequences. When you remember the same nation, the United States of America, demanding stability, also imposed an oil blockade that crippled Cuba's energy supply, causing fuel shortages, power outages, and threats to health services. Same nation, Talk about irony. They talk about the United States of America. These people are of the serpent seed. I wouldn't stop saying that. When Washington says it once, a new dynamic in the Western Hemisphere. Marco Rubio was just here. Caribbean people have every right to ask one question when he said that. New for who? The United States? Not for us. Rubio talks about partnership. He talks about security. He talks about opportunity in the Western Hemisphere. But for who? Because when the United States decide to redefine the hemisphere, who sets the terms? Them or all of us? Caribbean people, listen up. Jamaica has every right to speak out for solidarity, justice, and for regional unity. For decades, Cuba has stood with the Caribbean in times of need, sending doctors, teachers, and support when needed it most. When we needed it most. And now, when Jamaica raises legitimate humanitarian concern, you have this factotum from Miami, some foreign politician threatening consequences. Who the hell is he? That's not friendship, that is coercion. This isn't about some one island. This is about all the Caribbean nations to exercise their independent foreign policy without fear of retribution. What are we? States of the United States of America? Are we the 51st, 52nd, 53rd? What are we? Jamaicans, let me tell you all something. Be proud of your leader. And CARICOM, be united. And anyone trying to intimidate us, you cannot silence the spirit of the Caribbean. You hear me? Send this video to him.